and they wanted to work with me to write a self-help but motivational and practical book, moments where I get to live out my dream. I just can't take it for granted, and I don't see myself as being someone that's lucky. My family and I just have this very strong, take the lemons that life has given and make lemonade.
Hello and welcome everyone. This is so exciting. We are currently having our video interview for the cover feature of issue 12, and she is Vee Kativhu. She is one of the most inspiring women, inspiring young person I've ever seen. She has just published her book Empowered. She has degrees from Oxford University as well as Harvard University. She is the founder of Empowered by Vee, an amazing academic platform aimed on empowering young people for access to education as well as ensuring diversity in academics and universities. And she is a wonderfully inspiring person. Her level of maturity in thought and her commitment and dedication to inspiring people for achieving diversity in education is absolutely stunning. Welcome, Vee. We are so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much. That was such a lovely introduction. I'm really, really excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Even we are excited now. So, Vee, I'll start with my first question. You were born in Zimbabwe and you have had your later upbringing in the UK. And I have heard of this very touching story that you met your mom at the airport, and then you met her after so many years. You met her for the first time, and then you bonded with your mom for after a very long time because you were brought up in Zimbabwe and you were away from your family, and your dad passed away when you were 2. And you had your education in the United Kingdom, and you transitioned to an entirely different country and an entirely different culture and an education system. How was the transition for you? Can you describe your early life for us?
Yeah, so that is a pretty good summary of how I was brought up and raised. And I think that looking back now, I think it's, a big blessing to have been able to rebond with my mom and get to know each other as we'd been apart for so long. And it was so lovely to it was kind of like having a best friend in the house and being like, okay, and we shared the same birthday too. So that made it even more exciting. Like, wait, I was born on the same day as you, like we're birthday twins. This is crazy. But yeah, it was hard, of course, like being without her and being without the family and everything like that. But I think my family and I just have this very strong, take the lemons that life has given and make lemonade. So for us, it was like, oh, we've been given like a second chance of being together again, like a second chance to be a family. And now you're kind of like choosing each other in a way, And also it meant that in the time that I wasn't with her, I was living with my aunties and uncles and cousins and stuff like that. So I now had like a bigger family than I think I would have had I have just had that nuclear family setting. So it was difficult not being with her. And of course, like I think the best outcome is for children to be with their parents, but sometimes you can't have that. So given that I couldn't have that, I think it kind of ended up working out the way that it should have. I mean, I wish I could go back and undo some of the years that I wasn't with her and some of the things that happened, but I also can't go back in time. So you have to look at the positive side of it. And I would definitely say that it was a mixture of both hard but exciting, and also being grateful for like now having my mom and now being able to get to know her and now being able to appreciate her in a way that I guess, I mean, I would like to think I'd have always appreciated her, but now that I hadn't been with her for so long, getting to meet her again, I just didn't want to ever let go. And we're still the best of friends now. And I love it.
Oh, that's such a touching answer. And also the way you talked about focusing on the positive rather than the negative aspects and just living in the moment and just living all the precious moments that you have with your mom and bonding with her, and that's just so beautiful to hear.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I think it's really important to be able to reframe things and look at okay, this thing happened and I can't change that it happened, but what can I either learn from it or reframe from it? Or sometimes painful situations are just painful, and that is okay for you to just think that was a really bad moment in my life and I just don't want to revisit that, and I want to just close that and leave it alone. That's also okay if that's how you want to heal, but I love to turn things around and kind of think, okay, what can I get from this moment? And for me, it's the fact that I got to know her again, and now I appreciate her more than ever. Yeah.
Wow, like this in itself sparks so much of empowerment. Like I'm hearing how you are trying to cope with the adversities that you've faced, and they have never let you hold you back, and you have always focused on the positive, and it's just so amazing the way you said it. You don't want to revisit the bad moments, and you can choose your own way and your own path for healing. That is so amazing, absolutely commendable. So you always talked about getting the best things in life and living those best moments for
Mhm.
in your existence, and that you have this one life, live in the best way possible. And for you, you have been living the dream that any student would want to live, like
Mhm.
getting degrees from Oxford as well as Harvard, and being that girl from Zimbabwe and transitioning to a different country, being in a different education system, and then getting into Oxford University through a foundation course, and then getting into Harvard. How has the journey been for you? How does it feel looking back? How did you have faith in yourself that you would be able to achieve those things which you wanted to achieve? You wanted the best and you achieved it. How does it
Yeah.
feel looking back?
Yeah, I think looking back, it just feels really, really incredible to know that you can dream for the things you want and then you're able to make them happen. And I know that like things could be so different. I think that is the thing that keeps me going, keeps me grateful, is the awareness that things could be so different right now. I could still be in Zimbabwe, which would be an amazing thing to be in Zimbabwe. There's nothing wrong with being back home, but I know that I might have had less of an opportunity, or some of my cousins don't have the best things that they wish that they had, the most amount of money or the best educational opportunities. And I'm very, very aware of how lucky I am because I can see what the other side of the spectrum looks like. And I live that when I go back home and I'm with my family, I can see it around me. So for me, when I get these opportunities, when I have moments where I get to live out my dream, I just can't take it for granted. And I don't see myself as being someone that's lucky or being the chosen one or something, because what situation someone is born into, they can't help, they can't help that. So for me, I'm just aware of the world and people's situations. So when I have a moment that is something like getting into Oxford or Harvard, I will celebrate that until kingdom come, because that is not normal everyday stuff, especially for someone from my background, especially for all of this. And of course I'm working to try and get that to change, to try and normalize people like myself being in places like that. We shouldn't have to applaud it, really. It should be normal, but it's not yet normal. So at this moment in time, I'm aware of that. So I think that is what keeps me going and keeps me chasing my dreams, because I know that there are so many other young girls out there who've either been told that they can't do it, or haven't had the opportunity or the resources or the chances. So for me, I'm like, if I can keep on living up my dream while also opening the doors, while also sharing resources, while also championing other girls' voices who are marginalized, who don't have the same chances. There are so many girls in the world right now who've been forced into child marriage, who've been removed out of school because their parents can't afford it. Like, there are so many scenarios. So for me to not embrace what I have, for me to not acknowledge where I am, or to not embrace these moments of achievements, and to also not dream big, I feel like it's a disservice to so many young people. It's a disservice to so many people who will never get the chance, which breaks my heart. So I'm like, if I'm in these rooms, if I'm in these spaces, if I'm getting to reach my dreams, I'm going to do it unapologetically. I'm going to embrace every moment of it. And like I said, keep thinking of ways to try and throw the bone back to someone else and open the door for someone else. So yeah, like that is my mindset. And anything that I do, any achievement that I get, I do not take it lightly, because things could be so different.
Wow, it's so inspiring to hear that. Honestly, just the way you say things could have been so much different, and to not dream big is such a disservice to other young people who would want to be in those positions, who would want to live those amazing opportunities and have the best of things. And it's amazing how you're living every moment of your life with that dedication, that pride, and that drive. It's stunning. It's really motivating.
Thank
And
you.
speaking of drive, you have written a book, simultaneously earning a degree. You have started EBV Empowered by V, and you do a lot of speaking engagements. So you have your page, you have your YouTube channel. What drives you to do all of this?
Mhm.
What can drive other young people to be the best versions of themselves, just like the way you are right now?
I think it's an understanding and a knowing that you only have the one life, right? You only have one chance on this earth to do this and to do it properly. And of course, we can have a discussion about the afterlife and what everybody believes. But for right this second, let's just talk about our time on earth. And if I'm only going to be here for a limited amount of time, I want to do the biggest things I can do. I want to do the best things I can do. I want to have the most impact. I always think about Beyonce's song, I Was Here, and that always plays through my mind. And she's like, I want to leave my footprints on the time of sand, right? Like I want to make sure like people know I was here, and not because I just existed for doing cool things. I want to exist for having impacted generations, you know, for their grandkids, for them to know that they are worthy, they deserve these things. And that drives me and keeps me going, because I believe that everybody can impact someone, like whether it's on a small scale or big scale, small but mighty, you know, powerful stuff can happen from you just deciding to give back and to always pay it forward and look at the people around you. So what drives me to keep going is knowing that I might make a YouTube video that might reach someone, and it might help them with their personal statements or school stuff or studies. But then there might be someone else who doesn't necessarily need the essay advice, but they might want to hear a little bit about my life, and that could be helpful. So the book is another avenue to access those people, and then maybe using Instagram as a way of getting other people. I just think the more that I can do, the more that I can be, the more people I can reach and touch and see. And it's not just a one-way street. Like it's not like they're coming to my pages for all this inspiration and they leave and it's great. Like I draw from them as well. Like even being here, being able to talk to you and hearing what you're up to. Like you're 17 years old, running an amazing magazine that is sharing and championing amazing work from people around the world, right? Talking to you is making me feel like, oh my goodness, like what else could I be doing, you know? And I think that it's important to always look at the world around you. Who is out there? What are they doing? How can you draw energy from that? And what can you give back out there? So that's what keeps on driving me, is knowing that I have a story that I want to share, and that it's not unique. And I said this in the book. It's not, there's nothing about my story that is like revolutionary, that's only happened to me. So many young people have parents who migrate to new countries to make a better future for them. They meet their parents again. You know, the airport story might be the airport story for me when I see my mom again, but for someone else it could be I met her in the back garden when she came from being picked up. Or everyone's version is different, but the essence is the same. So I think I'm just always aware of all of this stuff. Like I keep repeating that, but I'm just aware of people's different walks in life, and that drives me to want to keep on sharing my story, want to keep on championing what people go through. And I said it in the book, but it's all about sharing the lives that so many of us lead but just don't often see written about or spoken about. And that keeps me going, because let's normalize people's general lives and their journeys. And I don't know, let's just embrace everybody and support everyone, and have more empathy as a human race. You know, I think that when someone has been living a life of just privilege, or just a life of everything just coming to them, they often forget that other people don't have it that way. And I don't know if you saw this interview that recently went out, where this girl said, everybody's got the same 24 hours, so why aren't you doing more? And I was like, well, no, like not everybody has the same 24 hours, you know. And I used an analogy that we might all be in the same storm. Yes, you're right, there is a storm attacking the whole of this city, but if you're on a luxurious yacht that has 3 stories and you've got people feeding you food and you're able to get sunshine on the top deck and you're able to sleep on the bed, meanwhile I'm on a piece of wood, barely being able to keep afloat, trying to not drown, having anxiety and not knowing what's coming next. When we get off the boats, yes, we're both survivors, but we went through it completely differently. So for people to just say, oh, everyone's got the same 24 hours, just go and do it, I just think, oh, it's so ignorant. So I just try to always remain aware of everybody's situations. I don't even know what the question was, but I hope that answered it.
Absolutely. It's just so much more than I had even expected. And being aware, I think it's is the most mindful thing that I've ever heard.
Mhm.
And like just like now we are having this conversation. Someone might be struggling with anxiety before their exam. Someone might be just juggling with a deadline for college application. Or someone might be just enjoying their winter in some luxurious place, not being aware that there might be someone who would be from a completely different background who would want to get into that dream university from that impoverished background, and there would be someone else who would be who would not have experienced or just even thought of those adversities which another person of the same age with the same 24 hours would have lived by. And it is so important to be aware of these things, to be aware that the opportunities that I have is not something that other person might also have. And it's important to use my life, to use my drive, my passion to give those opportunities to others as well. Just so inspiring, all the work that you're doing to ensure diversity. It's just so amazing. So, Vee, can you tell us something more about your book now that you mentioned it? When did you start writing Empowered? And we can see that Empowered is literally like your baby. And how has the journey been for you? How did you get published by Penguin, your dream publisher?
Yeah, so my book is now out and it's been out for like about a month or so. And I'm so, so proud of how it's doing. I'm proud of the impact that it's having. The messages that I receive are always so thoughtful, and people are saying, this chapter has helped me do this, and this chapter has helped me do this. And I feel so, so lucky that I got to write something that is existing in people's lives as a tool for self-love, for their empowerment journeys, and that makes me feel really, really proud. And in terms of when I started writing it, it was during school. I was just started Harvard and I got an email from Penguin just saying that they loved what I stood for, they loved what my channel was about, they loved everything, and they wanted to work with me to write a self-help but motivational and practical book for people. It's not just for young people, it's for, I've had people who are 35 or 40 reaching out and saying the book was helpful for them, and I've had people who were 16, 15 saying they loved it too. So it's for everybody in between who's just looking for that transitional moment in their life where they want to take control and want the practical tips and tricks to be able to do that. So it's been awesome being able to see it exist outside of just my head and my laptop. And also I just love what it stands for, and I'm very, very proud. And I think that, you know, young people or young women especially shouldn't downplay how they feel about their achievements. You know, I'm a big champion for that as well. Like, I'm not gonna pretend like this is not blowing my mind or making me so excited or so proud. Like, I think it's an incredible book, and I wrote it, and I'm so happy. So yeah, that's how I feel. And Penguin is really, really amazing. They supported my entire vision. They allowed me to take control from the pages inside the book, which is just beautiful, bright and yellow, from the cover, from every step of the way. They allowed me to have control and ownership of my story and what I was writing. There's nothing in there that is written in that book that I did not want. Like, everything in that book is my words, my story, and the way that I wanted it to be written. They did not come in and say, hey, why don't you add this or take this out. And I when it was happening, it just felt normal, that, oh, that's just what happens. But then I realized, oh, sometimes people have people write their books for them, and sometimes someone changes their story. But I'm lucky that every word, every sentence, every full stop is entirely me. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of it.
Wow, that sentence actually quite struck with me, that the entire content, the ideas, and the views for empowerment that you had, they didn't just stay in your laptop or in your head, but they rather existed in the book, which
Yeah.
other people found inspiration, and each chapter inspired someone or the other from any age group, and it's just very much inspiring. And talking of your book, how has your education shaped you as a person? We talk about these universities in terms of prestige, and sometimes it becomes a huge matter of prestige, causing anxiety to certain students of getting into certain dream universities. But then, how, according to you, how important it is to get into that dream university, and whether that anxiety surrounding the prestige of your university is real or not, and if yes, how has your education in these top-notch universities shaped you?
So to start about the question of, like, should you pursue these universities because of their prestige, I think that you should pursue the things that you want and know your reasoning for it. So if you only want to go to a university because of its prestige, know why. Like, why is that important for you? And if you have your reasons, that is okay. Like, everybody is allowed to desire things for whatever reason they want to. And if for you, your dream has always been to go to the world's top universities, and that's something that has lived inside you, maybe because your grandparent wished it for you when you were like a year old or something, or maybe because it's just always been a dream of yours because someone told you you couldn't do it, or because you just love those institutions. Entirely up to you, but understand the why and make sure the reason why you're pursuing it is entirely for your happiness and something that you actually want. You should never pursue things because you think that's what you're supposed to be doing, or you think that that's what will give you value or give you worth, or that because you went to Oxford or because you went to Harvard, now you are a worthy person. If those degrees were taken away from you, would you still be happy within yourself? And the answer should be yes. You should still, I still view myself as a person of purpose, a person of value, a person who's contributing to this world, whether or not I'd have attended those schools. I was already in these lines of work before those schools. Those schools help boost my story. Those schools help they just help get the story more out there, but they don't make me. So I think that if someone is pursuing those things, there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand why. And we all do this. Sometimes you'll be thinking, I want to study mathematics. Where is the course that suits me the best? Which school is going to be the one that makes me the happiest? Which school is closest to home? And which school might have the better rankings because you want to be in that school? And that's fine. So I think don't ever let it be something that gives you anxiety, because there is no school or institution on earth that's worth your mental health or worth your sleep or worth your happiness. I think you should always prioritize that, but also you should be empowered enough to aim as high as you want to aim. And if for you, academia is the line that you want to follow, and you are deciding you want to go to the top schools in the world because that's just your aim, go for it. The same way if you're a singer and you're really, really aiming to, I don't know, get the biggest Grammy or something, or you're an actress and you want to go and get an Oscar because you want to be in your field and you want to go for those accolades. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think always putting at the forefront your reasons why, and those reasons why should be rooted in love, in happiness, in passion, in pursuit, in, you know, those kinds of things. So for me, I see my schools and my degrees as my version of the Oscars and the Grammys, and I'm very proud of what I achieved and where I went. But I would never say that that is what will make you an amazing person. And then in terms of what those schools have taught me, what they have done for me, they've just helped me gain confidence in my academic ability. They've helped me understand that I can do anything really. Like I can go away and pour my energies into learning something and become amazing at it. And I think that I don't know if I would have gotten that from other schools, because I've never been to other schools. I only know what I've experienced, right? So I'm not saying that another school wouldn't have given me that. It's just that these are the schools that I went to, and that's what they gave me. And I'm sure I would have gotten that from anywhere else, but I can't speak on that until I go there, right? So yeah, it was an amazing experience. I got to learn from world-renowned, you know, teachers and professors. I got to use some of the biggest and best libraries in the world, and that was amazing. And once again, I'm always aware of the fact that there are schools around the world that students have to share one book, right? And I'm going to schools where we have like hundreds of copies of the same book. So all of that stuff is always swimming in my mind. So when I was there, I was not going to miss any lectures or allow any of my classes to go to waste, or just not utilize to the best of my ability. It's one thing to get into Oxford and Harvard, but it's another thing to stay in there and to enjoy it and to do well in there. So I didn't want to just get in and just say, oh, I got in, full stop. No, it was about going there to stimulate my intellectual curiosity and to go and become a learned person, you know, and understand other cultures, understand other languages. I learned Roman. I learned how to read some Latin. I mean, not Roman. I learned how to read Latin. I learned how to read Greek. I studied Spanish at Harvard. So it wasn't just about writing an essay for my grades. It was also about learning about other things, other people, and it was amazing. So I think I gained a lot from those schools. Definitely, their resources are insane. I mean, that is why they have those names, right? Because they can afford to do things that other schools can't. And I definitely benefited from that a lot, and I utilized it. And I'm very grateful to have been there. But I'm also happy that I got to contribute to their institution as well as them contributing to me. So yeah.
Wow, you have been so aware. When I just heard that a particular university or college might have this one book, that rare book that students might want to read, but the universities to which you went to had 100 copies of the same book, and you had that well-renowned faculty, you had those amazing peers who could support you, who could empower you in your journey, and you were aware of it. You wanted to utilize it. And another thing which stood out to me in your answer is that even without those degrees, you are worthy. You are so enough within yourself. And I think it is so important because as students, when you're struggling with that anxiety with your applications or with that prestige or with that dream university, you sometimes forget that even if you're rejected or accepted into that particular institution, you're still worth it. You're still working on that path. You still have that purpose. And that just so important. It's so important to know that. And how does it feel to get the results of your work in terms of the Diana Legacy Award, or the wonderful audience of 250,000 subscribers that you have on YouTube? How does it feel to get rewarded? And what is it that you consider to be your biggest accomplishment? Is it certain award, or is it the reaction of the audience, or the support and the pride of your family? What is it for you?
Yeah, no, it's been awesome to see like the work get its recognition, and having people coming to you and saying, this is amazing, we want to give you this award for it. It's not something that you seek when you're in this line of work, because there's no way of measuring it. And for me, I wouldn't say that someone deserve something more because they had a 250,000 people impacted versus someone who had 50 people impacted, because I think impact is impact, and it's really, really hard to measure that, because with the line of work that I'm in, it is something that will last for someone for the rest of their life. And you can't really measure that, you know, you can only gauge it. So I definitely would say that it's not like I went into all of this thinking, oh, I want to get these awards. They always come to me as a shock, because I'm like, number one, I can't believe people in such high places have seen what I'm doing, because they're not my target audience, right? They're not my target audience. They're not the people that I'm seeking to engage with in that way. So when they do see, I'm like, oh, that's surprising. And then when they want to award the stuff, I'm like, oh, that's even more surprising, because it's just not what I was expecting or what I was looking for. So I definitely do find it humbling, and it's such an honor for me to be able to hold those positions or have those, you know, names like, oh, you're holding the Diana Award, Legacy Award. That's a big deal. And I want to make sure I do it well, because I want other young people to also feel like they can achieve that too, because they really, really can. The work that young people are doing around the world is amazing, and it all deserves the recognition in the world, you know. And if I had to choose like what my favorite thing is so far, I think I always struggle with this question, because it's almost like everything is so amazing that as the next thing comes, I'm amazed by that, and I'm amazed by that, and I'm amazed by that. So to choose one thing would be really difficult. But I think I would go with what you've just said in terms of the people that I get to meet and the people that I get to interact with on a day-to-day basis is astonishing. And to think that there are people out there in the world who are thinking positive things about me and I'm not even around them is insane. Like they're thinking, we love Vee, she's amazing, and they're praying that I have a good day. Like that energy is just existing in the world for me from people I haven't met before, and that astounds me. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for positive energy. I'm grateful for people being kind, and I'm grateful for people taking my story and using it as a way of going out to help someone else. Now that is like paying it forward times 10, because I get to help someone and that person takes what I've said to then help someone else who then helps someone, and it's just like a massive chain of all of us being there for each other. So I would say that's my favorite thing, is the impact I get to have for people beyond just a YouTube video or beyond just letting them know how to study. Like they then take the acts of kindness that I do and they want to replicate it, or they go and support the same charities that I support, or they go and do like that. For me is everything and more. So yeah, I would say it's amazing to be able to get that recognition, but it's even more amazing to be able to create a community that is founded on kindness and being good and being empathetic and trying to just be a good person, you know?
That makes so much sense. In fact, like the energies that you're emanating from every conversation you with your audience, or be it from the communities that you're building, even from this conversation that we're having right now, I think that is the most wonderful impact that you can have. It's
Yeah.
so inspiring. So really, I have loved this conversation. In fact, I would never want it to end, honestly. But I have one last question for you. What is
Mhm.
the one thing that you would want our Gen Z readers, and just for anyone in general, to have? And in this, I would also want you to emphasize on a statement which you stated earlier during this interview about us not belittling our achievements and being super proud of every little thing that we're doing, be it a massive award or be it just completing a deadline or an assignment. But can you just emphasize on how one can be super proud of oneself and just admire and appreciate the little highs that we have in the day?
Yes, so I think that it is absolutely important to be your biggest cheerleader. Like I keep saying, we have one life and you're going to exist in this one body, in this one mind. Like, you're not going to get another chance to exist as someone else outside of you at your core. So you might as well love yourself. And I say in the book, but it's not just about living with yourself. It's about loving yourself, embracing yourself, being there for yourself. And the world is hard enough for people, especially young women. You go outside and there's just a million things that are either trying to harm you, trying to tell you to be insecure about yourself, trying to tell you what you should be, how you should dress, all of this stuff. And there is enough of that happening that we don't need you to come home, look in the mirror, and add on top of that. You need to be your own safe space. You need to be the place where you feel calmest and you feel most loved and most empowered. And if that happens through going to journal, through words of affirmation, through having amazing friends around you, through having family you can talk to, or looking at YouTube videos, or listening to podcasts that help get you in that mindset, whatever it takes, do it, because you deserve it. And you just can't be unkind to yourself. And I always say this, that people are often nicer to strangers than they are to themselves. They say things to themselves that they would never say to their worst enemy. Why do you do that? Don't do that to yourself. You need to embrace yourself. You need to love yourself. And all of this is rooted in the same word, self. It all starts from you, from within, and recognizing that your worth and your value are innate. They're not based on whether or not you work out 50 times a day to get this perfect body, or whatever that may be, or whether you have 6 figures in your bank account, or whether or not you have friends with like cool names and cool accolades. None of that matters. It's about the core. At the core, who are you and what are you? And you are valuable. And that is an undisputed fact. So if I had to say anything, a piece of advice is love yourself, be proud of yourself, clap for yourself, because life is hard. Life is really hard. So the fact that you're still here, still standing and still trying is a big deal. And you need to cut yourself some slack and just be a bit kinder to you.
I I'm speechless. I'm honestly speechless. Like, that's the best thing anyone could ever say. Like, be kind to yourself. We say sometimes we say things to ourselves which we wouldn't even say to our worst enemies, and it's high time that we understand that there's so many people around us who would want to say things, or who would intentionally or unintentionally want to belittle you or harm you, but you want to be kind to yourself and emanate that kindness for other people as well. And it all starts with you, and that empowerment, that energy, it's all within you. And I loved this conversation. I I don't know, I'm speechless by the end of this conversation. It's just that energy that emanated from this entire interview. It's stunning. And to all of those who would want to continue this conversation and read more about Vee, she is the cover feature of Empower Magazine's issue 12, and we couldn't have asked for a better cover feature, and her entire cover interview is there in our issue 12. Link in bio at www.empowermag.net, and read the magazine there, read about Vee, go and read her book Empower, and check out her platform Empowered by Vee. Go check out her amazing videos, and be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and live the absolutely amazing life that you want to live. Thank you so much, Vee.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thank you, Vee, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.